Welcome to the Golf Fitness Bomb Squad. I'm your host, Chris Finn, and welcome to episode number 3 in our 4-episode series with the founder of Fit for Golf, Mike Carroll. Mike, we're still doing it, man.
Yeah, they've been fun so far, so why not keep going?
Why not? So if you guys didn't hear the first 2 episodes we did, first one was on core strength in golf. Go check that out. A couple nuggets in there, at least. And then the episode 2 was on longevity, which I know is important for everybody, and definitely some eye-opening discussion there. So check that out. But today we are talking about how to injury-proof your golf game, or at least minimize the risk. Because I'm not gonna BS you. Can't guarantee that you won't get hurt. You play golf long enough, there's gonna be something that pops up. I don't know. Unless, Mike, have you had that one unicorn who played golf for 50 years and never had any issues?
No, I don't. No. I don't think so.
I'm still looking for that guy too.
Yeah.
But hey, I always think of frameworks. That's kind of how my brain works. When it comes to like my mental framework around injury prevention in golf, I think of rotational mobility is one of the core kind of tenets there. Is that the more mobility somebody has, the less running into a brick wall essentially that they're doing in every golf swing. I also think about strength as kind of armor. Like if you're going into battle, the thicker your armor, the more hits you can take. How do you? Those are kind of probably the 2 bigger areas, and then obviously you can get into the technique and how efficient that is. But if we're just talking a physical side, that's kind of the first 2 areas that I will look at, among others. But where do you how do you think about preventing injury and keeping guys healthy?
Those things are definitely important, and I think of them for definite. Where I tend to go first, though, is like when I think of why do injuries occur, it's generally due to what I would say training error or like loading error. Mm-hmm. And what that basically means is that people have done more than they can currently tolerate. And that may have happened over a number of weeks, or it may have happened over a number of days. And if someone puts more demand on their body, more stress on their body than they can adapt to and recover from, they're probably going to start feeling it somewhere. And usually when this happens, it's common for people to think there's something wrong with their technique, either in their golf swing. They think there's something wrong with their technique in the gym, if that's where they felt it, or they might think that it's something to do with, let's say, for example, they've been hitting off mats instead of grass, or they started, if it's somebody who started speed training or something like that, they think it might be the tool they're using. And nearly all the time, what I would say is it's more down to just trying to do too much too soon. You weren't prepared for the demands you placed on your body, and some area essentially became overly stressed. And started.
I always think about like a cup. I don't know. I like the analogy of like how big your cup is. You can fit so much water in it. And if you have an 8-ounce cup, to your point, is it for visualization for people? Are you basically saying if you have an 8-ounce cup, most injury happens when you try to fill it with 10 ounces, or
yeah.
more than what? Yeah, is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely. But I think what's very important, kind of to remember there as well, is like, our adaptation to training over time can drastically change the size of the cup.
Amen, brother. Yep.
So like it's a matter of if you're steady enough and patient enough with your progression, you can build up the ability to tolerate a much bigger volume and intensity of practice and play and training. But the issue that people run into is they may not have been doing a whole lot. So they're at, like, let's say that 8-ounce level. They get a burst of enthusiasm, like, okay, this is the year that I become a single-digit handicap and I get under 180 pounds. It's January 1st, and then by January 12th, they've crammed in more than they did in the last 3 years. Their back is sore, and they blame, whatever it is, like squats or mats. But it's like you took 500 swings in 10 days. You haven't taken 500 swings in 10 years.
I literally had this conversation This is hilarious, Mike. I literally had this conversation like 3 days ago in the locker room at the club. Guy came up. I'm obviously known as like the body guy, right? And he comes, hey, my elbow's been bugging me. Like, what should I do? And so I said, well, what have you been doing? He's like, oh, I started taking lessons. And I was like, oh boy, well, what do you do in your lessons? And he's like, oh, working on his impact position. He shows me this most like exaggerated position. I was like, okay. And he's like, yes, I've been doing this drill, just practicing that position over. And I was like, oh, well, how much did you do that? And he goes, well, I spent about 3 hours each day for the last 3 days. I said, how many balls do you typically hit? He goes, once a week, maybe. Like I'll hit like 50. And I look at him, and he kind of like hears it back, and he goes, oh, you can just like see the light bulb go off. He's like, oh, maybe I'm doing too much. I was like, it's not that you're doing too much. You're just doing more than what you can handle right now, right? And I think that's the message that you're saying, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, people love to try and come up with a way that they can basically bypass the process of needing to gradually build up your training capacity specific to whatever you want that training to be, whether it's hitting a bunch of golf balls, daily or running 12 or 15 miles. And they're hoping that like there's some mobility routine or strength routine or recovery protocol or supplements or something that they can do that will allow them bypass this. There are certain things that definitely help and play a part in the process, but there's just no way to basically bypass. If you want to be able to do a certain amount, you need to slowly work up to that amount. And yeah, like even the question of, is there issues in my golf swing or are there issues in my form in these exercises in the gym that are leading to my injury? Possibly, but I would first look at like how quickly did you build up your sets and reps or your weight, or like you just said, how quickly did you build up your practice of first of all, it's a new movement, a very exaggerated movement, so that's going to be new stress to the area, but then you also did it in a huge volume. And they're the two things that tend to cause issues. Like my favorite example or analogy for golfers is I often get messages from people asking how to prepare for a golf trip, like a multi-day golf trip, where there's going to be lots of walking and lots of playing golf. And the way I explain it, and they're asking, what should I be doing? They say basically, they want to enjoy the trip. They don't want to get super tired and break down. And they're saying, so like what program do you recommend or what cardio should I be doing? And I'm like you should for sure be doing some cardio and some lifting and stuff like that. But I was like, if you think about what's going to be happening on this trip, like if you're playing, let's say 6 rounds in 4 days or something like that, which is common, there's going to be lots and lots of walking and time on your feet. And there's going to be lots and lots of swinging. So like you need to make sure that you're gradually building up the amount of time you're comfortable on your feet for and walking. And you need to gradually build up the amount of swings you can take 3 and 4 days in a row without completely breaking down. And it's almost a matter of like, well, let's gradually build up your daily step count to a much higher amount than you would usually do, because that's what's going to happen on the trip. And even if it means swinging in the garden without hitting a ball or hitting foam balls off a wall or something, we need to slowly build up the amount of swings you're going to take, because that's what you're going to be doing on the trip. And ideally, start this more than 4 days before you leave.
That's so the norm when they reach out too. Hey, I'm leaving on Friday. It's Tuesday.
Yeah.
But I think to your point, this is how we look at it from a rehab standpoint. Like particularly we get somebody like post-surgical, like back or whatever it may be. I think one of the things that we've looked at is you can obviously take the length of the club, the weight of the club, the speed of the club, and you can measure the amount of work or load that's going to be placed onto the system. And then we've actually mapped out, like over the course of an 18-hole round, how many driver swings are you going to do at what speed? How many iron swings are you going to do at what speed, right? And you can start to kind of map out very mathematically, like, hey, this is the load that this is going to be placed on the body for 9 holes, for 18 holes. And so when we look at our return to play protocols, to your point, it's over a number of weeks, right? And it's a, hey, we're going to do this load, and then we're going to see how you feel the next day. And if we're no good the next day, then we either stay here or we go back, where we.
We're good. I'm still there. It was just my camera. Can you hear me?
Are you good? Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
I don't know why my camera went off. Okay, I think it's gonna. I don't know why it switched. It's just it won't let me switch cameras now while we're recording.
What if we pause it? Let's pause it.
For whoever.
For Caleb, it's okay. All right. So we'll start. Yeah. Yeah, he's left. He's coming back in.
We good?
There you are. I see you now.
Did we keep that recording that we did?
Yeah, it's still recording here.
Oh, yeah.
That's the beauty of Riverside. It's still recording here, so
That's
you're good. All right, so I'll just pick back up. I'll say so. All right, guys, so we'll just start from here. So that's one of the things, Mike, that I've seen like on the rehab side is that we will look at like actually the speed that the people are going to swing the golf club, the weight of the club. So a driver obviously weighs more different weights than like a pitching wedge. And so you can calculate how much load the body's going to have with those swings, and over the course of 18 holes, kind of get an idea of what the total load will be on the body. And so then we'll develop, return to golf kind of protocols basically for that person based on the loads that we foresee them going to have, that they're going to have to, withstand, right? So if somebody plays twice a week, that's a different amount of load than if I have a NCAA Division I player who's got to play 36 in a day, multiple days potentially, right? That load that they have to be able to withstand has to be higher. So the idea being we're not clearing you to go play until we are, pretty certain that your body's going to be able to withstand that and you're going to recover and be okay and we don't screw up the injury again. But to your point of what we've been talking about in terms of preventing injuries, it's that buildup over time. And that rehab process, return to golf, can take a month or two, depending on the amount of load. Obviously, a lot shorter rehab to get back to play once a week than it is to go play 36 a day, multiple days in a row.
Yeah, so I think getting as good a physical condition as you can with the sort of basic things that we always recommend, like your mobility, strength, cardiovascular stuff, because that just helps everything. Like that makes everything easier. Give yourself a better place to start from. And then if there's something specific that you want to be able to do, build up to that slowly.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the cool thing from an injury standpoint and thinking about capacity is a lot of it's math, right? I mean, that's the cool thing about physiology too, right? It's like if you want to be able to lift 200 pounds, well, you got to build up the volume and the sets, and so that inputs will create outputs. And it's the same thing when thinking about injury prevention, like we've been talking about, is if your output, the output or the energy that your body is exerting is more than you're able to, more than the cup has, it will become emptied, and then eventually there will be likelihood injury.
And with that, trying to recognize that a lot of people, and probably even all of us, we often tend to blame the modality that we feel the injury doing rather than the mistakes we made with the build-up or loading of that modality. Like you can pick up an injury from walking if you build up your walking too quickly. It's not uncommon for people to get like Achilles tendinopathies or foot pain and stuff like that if they go just massively build up their amount of walking suddenly. But if you ask someone like, is walking dangerous? Is walking high injury risk? Like, no, but you can like if you overload it enough, for sure. But then if you ask someone, is running, and they'll be like, oh yeah, like everybody who runs on the roads gets injured. Like running's bad for your ankles and knees. It's like, not really. Your calf was killing you because you went from not running for years, to trying to run, 10 miles 3 times a week or whatever it is. And that applies to swinging golf clubs, lifting weights, even simple things like short game and putting practice. Like you can get like really, really achy lower back from practicing your putting, from being in that bent over posture. And it's like, no, putting's not bad for your back. It's just if you haven't been in that position for long periods and now you're going to feel it. I even feel my left glute and hip getting sore if I'm doing a bunch of short game, because I'm leaning on my left side and I'm rotating a little bit, and I'm like, probably haven't been practicing my short game enough. Yeah.
Light bulb goes up. Maybe that's why the handicap's going up a little bit. That's awesome. Cool. Well, hopefully that helps, guys. I think the net takeaway here is one of the biggest kind of meta ways to prevent injury is making sure that you're not increasing stuff too quickly. Make sure you take the time to build that up. Obviously, having the buffers of mobility and strength there help. But to Mike's point, if you just go out and say, I'm going to putt for 3 hours straight today, and you've never done that before, don't be shocked if your back is sore tomorrow morning. So thanks for hanging out with us here today on this episode. Definitely make sure you check out the first 2 and stay tuned for the next the 4th episode. We're going to be talking speed. So look forward for catching you guys there, and we'll catch you on the next episode.